Oh, good afternoon, and welcome to the last Sunday in May. Man, has it gotten here fast. How you doing, Marty Durden?
I am doing good. It's great to be here. And what a good guest we have tonight.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We have had some really good folks on. Really good episode last week with Tim Fanning, and this week we've got another good friend of both you and I, Marty, and somebody we've known for a long time, and um, going to move up to the college level this week, and we've got Coach Robert Moore, the head men's basketball coach at Columbus State University, with us. Uh, I've known Robert now. It seems weird to say this, but I've known Robert for 30 years now. That seems crazy, but um, and Robert, welcome. Thanks for joining us on Step Up.
Thank y'all for having me on Step Up. And Mike, you telling our age, telling people you known me for 30 years, man.
Uh,
We need
yeah,
to add to the Coach of the Year in the Peach Belt Conference, too. Another notch in your belt there, Coach Moore.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. It was a great season. Had a great team. The community, everybody got behind us, and those guys did a great job this year. And Mike Peacock was on the mic for some of those games, and it's just Marty. I just tell you, those guys just really put it together. They've been with me for 3 or 4 years, and that last year they put it all together.
It just seems like that everybody on your team, you've built a culture there where they expect every one of their teammates to do their best, and that drives them all. Is that what we're seeing?
Oh yeah, we emphasize Marty when you come in on your recruiting visit and when you sign with Columbus State, hold yourself accountable and hold your teammates accountable. And then we going after guys that show great leadership in their junior college programs, their high school programs, and we feel like that's a big part of what we're trying to do. The coach can only do so much. The assistant coach can do so much training. You have to hold yourself accountable every night to do your job, and different guys got different roles, and they handle those roles very well this season.
That's one of the things too, Robert, that you taught me when we were coaching together. I remember the day you said, line them up on the end line. Remember that? And let everybody know, a public announcement. You point to every one of them. Your job is a rebound. Your job is to shoot the three. Your job, all the way down the line. I always admired that, and you taught me that, and ever since that day, I've done that exact same thing.
Oh yeah, it's you got to have those hard conversations. I think some guys are scorers, and they were scorers in high school, but at Columbus State, you might be an assist guy, and sometimes it's kind of humbling to those guys. But when they realize that it's all about winning, and that can take them to another level, and also take our team to another level, they usually buy in very quick. If they don't buy in, they don't play very much. So it has been good for us, but letting those guys know from day one what your job is and what your role is has been really good.
yeah, absolutely. And I'll say, you mentioned I was on the mic for a lot of the season. It was great to work with Scott Miller again. Scott Miller is one of the best ever uh, in the play-by-play business, and it was great to watch your guys all season long. Watch you as a coach, and been knowing you a long time, been watching your teams for a long time, but watched you recruit for the first part of the years that I knew you, and to watch you grow into the head coach that you've become has been really kind of cool to see. And but this year was fun. It was really fun to see all the fruits of your labor, because I know you've worked hard to get a group that really did. As Marty said, they were close. They had great chemistry. They worked together, and they served each other on that team. And when one person was having an off night, somebody would fill in for them. Somebody would step in that gap and take up the slack. And it was just that way all year long. And of course, you had a tremendous player in Jared Adderton, and but you had several other guys that could go as well. And if Jared was drawing all the defense, you had other guys that could pick up the slack, and they would eventually take pressure off him. And it was just fun to watch.
Oh yeah, and I learned that from my mentor, Coach Green. Man, if you don't have a go-to guy, it's kind of hard to get those other guys to buy into their role. And Jerry Addison was one of those guys that, hey, any night he can get off and go for 35, but the nights that he's off, some other guys have to step up. And Coach Green taught me that. He said, if you don't have a guy you can get it to in clutch situations, you're going to be in trouble. And Jared stepped up to the plate, was named All-American, the first one in school history since in 25 years. So
Wow.
those guys, they fed off of Jared, and Jared fed off of them, and they used each other's energy to be ready to play every night.
And you mentioned a name, and Marty and I had already talked about this when we were talking about having you on. You mentioned Herbert Green, and I've mentioned Herbert on this podcast before when Marty and I were first starting one of the first couple of episodes when he and I were just talking together. And Herbert is a guy I know that meant a lot to you as a mentor. He, I can't even. It's hard for me to put into words sometimes what he meant to me. Gave me my shot to work in college athletics and allowed me to grow into that job and helped me in a number of ways. But then you guys who coached under him and then went out and, I just, it's probably maybe difficult for you too, Robert, to express how much that meant and all he poured into you. Because I know what he was proud of you. He was as proud of you as if you were his own son.
Oh yeah, and Mike is no doubt. He was my dad away from home, man, and I've been living in Columbus ever since. But just the things that he taught me, the things that he showed me, and even people that he introduced me to, and we go to lunch, and it's just sometimes so hard because he was in those rooms, in those places to eat, and sometimes I get teared up in certain places that I go because he meant so much to me. And just something that we did in the office the other day, me and Jay Entley was talking about the soccer coach, all the people that are still there that he hired,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it shows you longevity of those coaches and how good those coaches were. Because Coach Green hired those guys, man. It's just amazing. And some of those guys have won national championships. So the guy knew what he was doing, man, and knew who to invest into. And those are one of the things. That was the greatest thing about Coach Green. He knew good people and what people were all about. And some guys, he was born with that. So and I was just so proud to be a part of that and still trying to live out his legacy and keep things going at Columbus State University.
Yeah.
That's a great segue.
He could see the potential, Marty, real quick before we get on that. Coach Green had the knack to see the potential in people. And, he may know something about you that you didn't even know about yourself yet. And he would do things to help you develop and do that kind of thing. And I think that's a great lesson for coaches. And we'll segue into talking about that too. But I think it's a great thing for coaches. You look at somebody, if you see something in them, having that knack to be able to point it out and to be able to grow that in somebody is huge. And I think you've got it. I think you probably learned a lot of it from Coach Green. Marty has it. He can see things in people. I have a little bit of it. I've got some perceptions and some, just some feelings about people that I think they've got something that needs to be developed and can pick that out. And it's a lot of that I think we picked up from being around Herbert.
And I only knew Herbert briefly, but I really admired and loved him. And I do think, though, that every coach, we named our program, Robert, we named it Step Up, and that's already been mentioned a couple of times in here, people stepping up. I think personally that you, Coach Moore, are in a position just like Coach Green was. I see, this young man that you hired, Stuart Wells, he sees you just like you saw Coach Green. And I think now you've become a mentor in your career to him and some of these other coaches that you've had in your program. Do you see that as part of your job is like to be a mentor?
Oh, yes. Marty, I don't think anything that you're involved in, if you don't want it to be better when you leave, it's something wrong with you. And I think Coach Green, like Mike Peacock said, taught me that. And, talking about Stuart Wells, graduate assistant right now, they need direction. They need things that you can help them with. They have some talents, but you have to keep pushing them and letting them know that you believe in them and you see a bright future for them in this sport, in this business. And it's a different type of business now, as y'all know, with the NIL money, transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of loyalty like you saw when we first got in it. And you have to adjust to that. And I think that's why some of the older coaches, Coach K and all those guys, are getting out of it because there's no more loyalty, and that hurts. And I tell people all the time, the team that we had this year was just so much loyalty. The end of their junior year, I met with Jerry Addison and Jelani James. I said, "Are y'all staying? Are y'all gonna believe in what we're trying to do?" And they said yes. And I think that's just such a key now. But pouring into those guys and believing in those guys. And Stuart Wells is one of those young coaches that I saw playing basketball at Calvary as a young age, and he had something in him about basketball, and you just want to keep pushing him and making sure he's on the right path to some things that he want to do in his life.
Robert, let's back up in history a little bit here, and let's talk about Robert Moore as a young man. You're coming up. You're from Macon, Georgia. You're coming up through school. You became a pretty good basketball player. And who were your influences when you were playing? And then a little bit later, who were your influences that maybe gave you the idea that you wanted to go into this coaching profession?
From an early age, Mike, my dad was a big influence, and also my grandmother. She was a physical education teacher here in Bibb County in Macon, Georgia. And she was one of those ladies that was big in stature. She was like 6'1" as a lady and kind of stock. So she didn't take no mess. So she was a big influence at a young age. And then I had some coaches. I can remember my JV coach, Coach Love. Back during those times, you coached so many different sports, even if you didn't know much about it. He was a baseball coach, but they hired him as the JV basketball coach. And Mike, this guy gave me the keys. I mean, he would let me pick the starting five, put in all the plays, the drills. And I think that what became a leader in me wanting to be a coach. And, it's funny now, but guys would bring me candy, Gatorades, just to say, "Coach, let me get some playing time today." But that guy had so much trust in me for a JV team because he was a baseball guy and he just believed in everything I did. I did all the drills. So I felt like I was coaching my JV team. I can remember my varsity coach would come up to me like, "You want to dress out with varsity tonight?" I was like, "No, coach, I want to coach my whole team." So it was just that experience right there for 1 year just made me understand that I really wanted to go into coaching. And it's just one of the craziest things I ever seen. This guy he would sit down in his chair and let me run the whole entire practice. So I would go home and plan the practice that night, ask my grandmother and my dad for drills. It was amazing. And then as I went along, Coach Green was the first one out of college. And then my college basketball coach, Tony Wallingford, he's the golf coach at Milligan right now. He was a big influence for me. I played junior college basketball, and they recruited me to go to Milligan. And Tony Wallingford was my coach. And he still comes to one game a season now. He'll meet us at USC Aiken or either Lander and watch a game. And he'll come in and talk to my guys in the locker room. And then, Coach Green, who I was with for 6 years, he's the main one. And then I met people like Sam Mitchell that's from Columbus. Sam invited me to different NBA training camps. I went to the Detroit Pistons training camp. I went to Toronto Raptors training camp. So just learning from all those guys and just getting different people to help you along your way and doing your path, I think has been big for me because, Coach Green was all about guards shooting a three. But then I went and talked to Sam. He was talking about more post guys, what post guys can do. So just a mixture of those guys that really helped, mold me into the coach I am today.
That's the great thing about our profession. It's such a relationship basis.
Yes.
Now, probably remember this. When I was out in Texas, 10, 12 years ago, I had this young coach named Darnell Cleary. And invited you to come out and mentor Darnell a little bit, remember? And you put in the amoeba defense,
Right.
which he still runs today and still out there coaching. And that's what's so great about coaching is we're all so together in what we do, and we're so into building these relationships that become bridges, to friendships. I just think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, Marty, I
And I
tell my young
appreciate so
coaches all the
much you
time.
coming out there.
Yeah, I tell my young coaches all the time, we're not rich in money, but we're rich in relationships. So use those relationships to help you. And I think some guys pick up on that sooner than others.
And Marty, I mean, and Robert, you mentioned a word there that Marty and I have talked with several people about is relationships. As a head coach, how important are relationships with your players when you're when you are recruiting, and then when you have a young man in your program? How important is building a good relationship with each player in your success?
Each player is different, Mike, and you got to develop those relationships. Some guys gonna let you a little farther in than others. Just like any business, I'm sure in your business that you do right now, those things are big because you need those people business. But I tell people all the time, developing that relationships helps you as far as recruiting, because they know you got to understand players know other guys that can play, and so they
Mhm.
help you find those other guys. And I think sometimes we don't look at that. We always want to go back to the coach. But what type of relationship do you have with a player, a former player? I have got so many guys off my former players than I have off coaches. It's
Mhm.
probably like half and half, 50%, 50%. So you got to understand that once that player trusts you about playing time, about anything, grades, they're going to believe in you, and then they believe in you as a person once they leave Columbus State University. And I think that's so big in that they can pick up the phone and call you like, Coach, I'm starting a new job. What you think about this? Coach, my wife had another child, thinking about moving. When is a good time to move? They ask you so many different questions that sometimes don't even really have to do with basketball. And I think when you develop that relationship with them while they're there playing is so important because you want them to grow as people. You want their career to keep going, but at the end of the day, that ball gonna stop bouncing, so they got to have some other things they want to do. And I just want to
Mhm.
be there for them. They don't have to be Robert Moore, but I got to give them some things that I've learned on the way to help me that might help them. And I see so many guys doing that right now that I hear from, that I coached at ABAC, that I coached at Tiff County. So it's just those relationships mean the world. And as a coach, you got to accept those relationships because those guys need you and they value your opinion. And I think that's big.
Robert, that is so great to hear you say that word trust. That everything revolves around that in coaching. We started this broadcast as a result of some research we did in the nonprofit, which you're on our board, as you know. And
Right.
the biggest thing that we found that motivates kids is trust. That's the whole thing. If these young men, they trust you, they'll run through the tunnel for you and give it all they got every day. But if we don't gain that trust, if we lose it, it's hard to get back, isn't it?
No, yeah. And Marty, that dealing with FCA. I worked with you so many times doing that. And you just feel like you don't want to let that person down. And I know you
Right.
had a job to do to get to different people and get organizations on campus. And so you feel like that's part of what you're trying to do. And you say, hey, man, I'm doing this for Marty. And when you develop those friendships, and Mike see it every day at Serve Pro, those things help you with your life. And I think a lot of people don't take value in that. They think they just punching a clock and receiving
Mhm.
money, but it's more than that. The money is there to help you with bills and help your life, but at the end of the day, that relationship means the world.
Boy, it's so great to hear you say that, Coach. And I see that in your life, and I applaud that, man. That's the whole point. Step up. That's what we're trying to get coaches to see. It's not about the wins and the losses are good. We want to win. We drive ourselves. We can't sleep at night. But in the bottom line is that's not really what we judge ourselves by. Is it?
Mhm.
think we judge ourselves by a higher standard.
I'll borrow a line from Tim Fanning last week when he was talking about priorities in coaching, and he said, he said winning is good. He said, but winning is well down the priority list. He said I'm more worried about their health. I'm more worried about their grades. I'm more worried about their emotional life with their family and their family life and the things that they've got going on, the relationships with their teammates. He said, if we take care of all those other things, then when we get down to winning, a lot of times you'll find that winning takes care of itself when you've taken care of those other important things. And I thought that was a tremendous line last week from our talk. And Robert, I think you're kind of the same way. If you build those relationships and you do the little things, if you earn that trust, then winning is a byproduct of that. But if you make winning the focus right up front, then sometimes that all that other stuff gets lost.
Yeah, our team this year had a 3.25 GPA. And I'll tell those guys how you do stuff every day determines how you will perform in a game in practice. And we were big on that. Do you make it the study hall on time? Are you sitting in the first two rows of your class? And we got our grad assistants going by there checking on that. Holding yourself accountable more than just basketball, but off the court. Are you making sure you get a proper rest? Are you going to bed at night? Are you hanging out? So those are kind of things I think that started off the winning, Mike. Like you said, it's just you have to be disciplined in other areas and be good in other areas before you can be good on the court. And we have been a firm believer of that. We checking guys' transcripts. We talking to their high school coach. We talking to their pastor of their church, just trying to see what we're getting ourselves into because we want you to be good for everybody, not just yourself.
Hey, Robert, let's change the subject. You're so right on all that. And in this transition here, so how now do you recruit differently than you did before? How's recruiting changed?
It's changed a lot, Marty, just based on, like we talked about, the NIL, the transfer portal. They're even talking about NIL coming to Division II in the next 2 to 3 years. Some teams already started it. So it's a little different. But I think just for me, I was so used to just going and try to get the best great player that you can find and then work all those other things out. And now it's vice versa. Now I'm looking at their character first. I'm looking at, do they go to study hall? Do they keep their grades up? What's their relationship with their mom and dad? Are they one of those people that talk back? Those kind of things that I, over the years, have revolved around I want to be around good people when I'm at practice, and that was the kind of things I think that changed me more than anything. Because all that other stuff, you and Mike been watching basketball 25, 30 years, all the other stuff going to change anyway. We never thought we'll be paying college players when we were coming through. All those changes are going to be made, but the people are not going to change. If you've been a good student, had good attendance in high school, middle school, you're going to continue that. But if your path was that you transferring all the time, you doing something different, you changing AAU teams, that's probably not what we're looking for. So just being dedicated and kind of being loyal to some extent. I know it's kind of different now because of the money. You might leave one school to another university for $50,000 and all that. But how were you when you was a middle school guy and a high school guy? And I think that has changed me more than anything, just looking at all those other characteristics before you ever get to the court.
Good point.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's a little bit of a different world, but the core is pretty much still the same. And I know I can remember, you and I, the first I don't know, 3 or 4 years, we were across a cubicle wall from each other. So I heard a lot of your recruiting calls when you were talking to players and stuff like that. And I know that, you were always out looking for that guy, that dude that could go. And sometimes you got him. Sometimes you got him in there for visits. And sometimes you were working against somebody that had a little bit more power and a little bit more money in their pockets than we did at Columbus State. And then over the years, I watched it kind of changed where even, Coach Green wanted those guys. But then I watched it change a little bit where you had to start kind of, I guess the process would be called vetting on them a little bit more. You have to start vetting a little bit more and checking out their background a little bit and checking out, is this guy going to be a good fit for our program? And how big is that now? How big of a question is that now when you're looking at players? How big of a deal is fit for your program?
You have to look at that because at the end of the day, Mike, I tell people I want to make the best decision for Columbus State University basketball. And I think sometimes when you look at it that way, you got to understand what you're getting yourself into because the person that you're recruiting is an investment. So you got to see, does he fit the culture of the school? Does he understand the dynamics of the school and what we're all about? And I think that has been a big part for me because you don't want to bring somebody in there that don't respect what we're trying to do. And I think that has really helped me mold myself into, hey, I can almost tell in 1 or 2 phone calls or in 1 visit, does this guy fit what we're trying to do? And I think you got to go with your gut feeling on that and make sure that you're making the right decision for the university because it has become so much social media. It's become so much they doing other things in the community. Is this guy going to be one of those guys that trying to skip community service when we're going out to do field days at elementary school? You don't want those kind of guys because that's going to happen for what we're trying to do there. If you can't, I think you probably did the game this year when we did the education day for Muskogee County. You got 2,500 little middle school kids and they're screaming and hollering. Those are the field days that we go to. So you want to give back. And we got to have guys that are willing to do that for the university and represent the university in a positive manner.
Yeah, man, it is so right there. And I think that all these things that you're saying, Robert, is to me, I'm assimilating this in my mind. And it is basically it's based on character. You want to get guys and you just using basketball as a way to build their character. Am I right?
Oh yeah, all the way, Marty. Just that character means everything, man. Those guys got to understand it's going to be ups and downs in life, just like in a basketball game. You can be down 14-15 at half, but you still can come back if y'all pull together and work with one another. And life going to be like that sometimes. You're gonna have death in the family. You're going to have losing a job. And you got to teach these guys like it's not the end of the world. You still got to fight through it and become a man. The old saying, stand, don't have a shoulder to lean on, stand on your own 2 feet. That's one of the things that we believe in as a man. You got to stand on your own 2 feet because you got to fight for your kids. You got to fight for your wife and those kind of things. So we still, those old things that people taught us, we still teaching these young men the same thing.
Some things don't change. And I really like that vein in you, Coach. I like that in you, man. I just want to tell you right now how much I respect that.
Robert, you mentioned, days of service, and you guys go out and do a lot of things, and that's what really our whole podcast is based on Marty's curriculum and Marty's writings on servant leadership for coaches and athletes, and you guys do a lot of different things to serve in different ways, and how big is that for you to help as you're developing these guys to help them see that you need to be giving back?
Oh, the main thing, Mike, is, everything is not about you. It's about somebody else. Mm-hmm. And if you could do other things for other people, I think that matters more than any basketball game that you can win. I work out at the YMCA every day. And my ultimate goal is to have some older lady right behind me so I can hold the door open for her. Those are the kind of things that people just take for granted, but those are things that matters, man, in servant leadership. And I shared an office with Marty during my days at Brookstone, and he's one of the guys that we talked about that all the time. How can you serve? How can you help people? And that's what I'm big on, and my guys know I'm big on that. What they call your little pet peeves. They say, Coach, gonna get mad if I don't show up for this. So they understand that coming in. And I explained that to them in the recruiting process that I'm big on that. because I feel like Columbus, Georgia has been so good to me. And a lot of guys, Mike, you can name them, Matt Bell that played there, Marvin Crum, all those guys lived in Columbus for years. And Columbus has been good to us as a men's basketball program. So we're not going to take that for granted. We're going to give back to the community. And I think they understand that day one.
I think
And
that's everything.
how big is that on a team too? When your players are going out and serving other people, but they come back into practice and they're building that teamwork and they're building that camaraderie with each other,
Right.
and they see that they really are doing the same thing on that team. They're serving each other.
Yeah, I'll give you a story that happened this year. Jerry Addison was MVP. We clinched the regular season title at Beaufort, South Carolina. The athletic director wrote a letter to the president and our AD. Jerry Addison did not run to the locker room to celebrate with all of us. He stayed out and picked up cups and paper around the bench. And we was in the locker room celebrating for 5 minutes. And we never saw Jerry. And it was the biggest time of our season. And your leader, he had 35 that night. And he was out there picking up the trash and putting cups up, and he just had 35. So we never noticed he was in the celebration, but that just tells you what we're all about, because they know we do that after every game. And all of us were so excited about winning. Jared still remembered, we got to get these cups up, and after scoring 35. So those little stories like that tells you what we're all about and what we tell our guys we got to do every day. The winning will take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just another thing that you picked up along the way from Herbert Green too, because I can't tell you how many road trips I heard, guys, we're going to leave this locker room better than we found it. You know,
Right.
and I remember him making that statement. We're going to leave it better than we found it. He said, so make sure you pick up everything, make sure you know, all of that kind of stuff, because that was just the way he believed it ought to be. And you take care of things, you don't take little things for granted. And
Right.
that's you know, that's cool. That's a great story about Jared. That's something right there for a young man with his stature and his ability and his you know, his accolades that he got this year, for him to be the guy that was out there, you know, foregoing a little bit of celebrating to make sure he left that bench area better than you found it. That's pretty
Right.
cool.
It speaks volumes about your culture. It speaks volumes about your culture that you set and these expectations. You know, when you got that peer pressure that's driving everybody to be better, it's a great feeling, isn't it, Coach?
Oh, great feeling, Marty. You know what I'm saying? What they say, iron sharpens iron. When you got enough good guys in that locker room, they don't have nobody bad they can follow, because you got so many good guys. So the guy turning around looking like, where can I go? It is always good guys there. So good guys always going to come out on top, man. It's just one of those things that I believe in. If you got enough guys in there that got 3.0s or better, that one guy that got that 2.0, he's going to step it up, because he knows he competes with some guys.
You know, that's so right. I've had some great teams down through the years, and just there were some selfish players, and it was just hard to enjoy winning. It's hard to enjoy winning. It's almost better sometimes. There's a fine line here that you cross, right? It's because we want to win, but sometimes when your guys are giving it all they got, and they're driving each other, but yet you're not really winning, sometimes there's a consolation in building that kind of program. And I remember one time I heard John Wooden say that very same thing, that in his long streak of, what was it, 10 in a row or 11 out of 12.
Yeah.
He said the one year he didn't win it, he was more fulfilled as a coach by those guys and their attitude than it was in all those championships that he had.
Right, that's true, Marty. I'm telling you, I had some teams that were 17 and 13, and I love those guys every day of it, man, because sometimes everything just don't fall in place. And I tell people now, this year was the perfect storm. Our top point guard from New Mexico State only played the first 12 games. He tore his ACL. One guy that we predicted was going to be a starter and average 15 points a game on the other side of Jerry Addison never showed up to campus, a transfer from Pembroke. So we was out 2 full scholarship guys and still went 27-5 and finished 6th in the country. Just the perfect storm, man. I'm telling you. So you just have to believe. And did you? I had never thought 27-5 once everybody was in school in August, and then especially when Rakeem got hurt late in the season, 12 games in the season, I thought we was done, man. And other guys like Roman Son and Wisdom stepped up. So I'm telling you, man, you never know, man. You just gotta go to work every day, believing in what you believe in, that good things gonna happen. And a lot of people in Columbus that celebrating us this season don't realize that 2 full scholarship guys were not there. And Mike knows that you only get 10, and at Columbus State, we only had 8. So he really was down to 6 full scholarship guys. So, hey, man, it was the good Lord was with us the whole entire time, man. I'm telling you.
I believe that.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. It's just so unlikely. Winning's an odd thing, you know. Winners come in all shapes and sizes and looks, and you just can't quantify them always, you know. I've heard players that you say, well, he can't shoot, he can't rebound, all he can do is win. And you know, how do you say that? I mean, so you coached you got the best out of the guys you had and didn't cry about what you didn't have. That is a great way
Marty,
to do
that's a good point, man. We did not cry about losing 2 big-time guys. We just kept working hard, man.
Hey, do you remember the scene, Robert, in Hoosiers when the guy said he only put 4 on the court because he was mad at one of the other guys? And
I remember that.
You remember that scene?
Right.
And my team's on the floor.
Team's on the floor.
That's kind of the attitude you got to have.
Right. You got to have that attitude, man. You don't have it all, but hey, what you got to use it and make it the best of it, man. And that's what that team did this year, man. I recruited Roman Son after he won the state championship at Thurl. And I can remember being back there in that back hallway and Macon Coliseum. And I just told him, I said, man, just come to Columbus State and be a winner. I didn't tell him how many times he's going to shoot it. I didn't tell him he was ever going to start. And Mike knows he only started his senior year. So it's like, it's amazing how those stories are just big time. And I can remember at the ring ceremony this year when we got the Peach Belt regular season championship rings. And Roman comes up to me and said, Coach, you had all those other guys, but I won it for you. I said, yeah, Roman, you're right. You know, he's just a winner, man. He won a state championship in high school and won a Peach Belt championship in college. So winners will perform, man. I'm telling you.
That's loyalty that you don't see very much in the world today, too. That's a great human being that would do something like that.
Right.
When I was coaching football, I had a quarterback, and I was a freshman coach, and I had a freshman quarterback, and he was not a phenom. He was not one of those special kids that this guy's got something going on. But he wasn't going to get you beat. He was going to do everything right, and he was going to do what he needed to do, and he wasn't going to get you beat. He might not be the phenom. He might not make the best decision 100% of the time, but he was going to be doing his job, and he wasn't going to get you beat. And that we used to use that term a lot about kids. He's not a star, but he's not going to get you beat. He's going to do what he's there to do. He's going to fill his role, and I think a lot of times that's really hugely important for those kids to understand what their role is and how they can best fill it. And I think you did a great job. I don't remember. I'm sure you may have had some isolated incidents, but I don't remember a single time where a whole lot of people were poking their lips out on your bench this year, because they were always ready to go right back in. If you took somebody out of a game, they might be a little upset that you took them out in the interim, but in 40, 50, 60 seconds, they might be right back in there because you need them, and they got to be ready to fill that role again. And it's
that was so big for us this year, man. I'm reading a book now called The Art of Winning by Bill Belichick. And, man, you see some of those stories, man. Some of those stories that he went through, man. You understand what it's all about to win those Super Bowls. And
that's a good stuff in that book.
Yeah, good stuff in there, man. It's like, it's unbelievable how they put that thing together without superstar guys, man.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's the old expression. It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog. And I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. You'd rather have a kid who just had that spirit; he didn't quit, and that no matter what, if he's having a good day, a bad day, no matter what, he was going to come to work and he was going to give you everything he had. That's the kind of player I like.
I love those, Marty. I love those guys.
Well, let me ask you this question. I'm putting you on the spot here. How about next year? What are you thinking? How's it
I,
shaping up?
it's shaping up pretty good, man. We had a Division II guy sitting out that came in January. That's a really good guard from Arizona. We found a 2-year non-guy that sat out 2 years that played at Tallahassee Community College. He's an athletic freak, bro. So, and then we got Jordan Mitchell. Mike knows Jordan Mitchell. He came off the bench last year. He was a forward from Shelton State. And then Messiah Jones, the freshman that was from Riverdale High School, he's back. So keeping those two guys in the program was big time. Then I signed my own son for 1 year.
Right. Yes.
Yes. So he has 1 year to play. He graduated from Coastal Georgia 2 weeks ago. So he's going to play a grad year for us. And, Marty, Malachi Chestnut got a chance to step up and play this year to play at Calvary.
Yeah.
We got another kid, Jackson Harris, down that played at Deerfield Windsor. He'll have a chance to play. We signed a really good wing from Lee University. He played at West Georgia the year before that. We hoping that he can replace Jerry Addison. So it's been looking good, man. The only thing, Marty, I'm having trouble with, I just got off the laptop in the transfer portal looking at 2 6'10" guys. As you know, Mike did a lot of our games this year, like I said before, and he knows once we got to that regional level, you got to get a little bit more size. And so we really trying to go after that 6'10", 7-foot guy, but it's not many out there that can help you the way you need them to. So we still gonna hold that scholarship to kind of late. And if we have to, we'll go back to one of those 6'7", 6'8" guys that can really go get it done. But it's forming really well, and I'm so excited because I had those guys for 3 or 4 years, and now trying to see can I do it again. It's really been fun, Marty. Just to tell you the truth, because you into it and you want to try to get guys just as good or better, and you want to get those same character guys. So it's been really fun so far.
Well, for everybody who's listening out there, you heard him. He needs a big guy. Say, one of you 6'10" guys out there, call Robert Moore, CSU.
Yes.
He's got a scholarship. If you can chew gum and you're 6'11", call him, okay, and walk at the same time. So
yes, we try to find those guys, boy.
Speaking of Malachi, he's my neighbor out here. And
I didn't know that.
Speak for me, yeah. Great family. And Malachi spoke. I saw a video where he did an FCA speech at I think it was Calvary the other day. Robert, it was fantastic. It was a great message. He's grown spiritually and in character so much. It was very impressive. You ought to ask him about that when you see him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Malachi, a great guy, man. Great student. Come from a great family, man. It's, we was up in, I think we was at Barton College up in North Carolina. And I turn around and behind the bench and his parents sitting right there. I said, how did y'all get here? Because it's 7.5 hours from Columbus. I think they caught a flight out there to see Malachi and support Malachi. I'm telling you, man, the recruiting process with him was fun also because just a bright young man, got a big time future ahead of him. And you want some of them local guys to do really well. And he's one of those guys that I really believe in. He's such a great athlete, man. He can go top of that rim and get it at any time. So just seeing him trying to develop those passing, shooting, and dribbling skills to play at this level, just watching him every day, it's really been fun, man. I just hope he can put it all together this upcoming season.
That's good. That work is everything, isn't it? That culture of work right there. Hey, Robert, if you had to give there's a young coach out there listening somewhere, okay, right now. What good piece of advice or 2 or 3 pieces of advice would you give an aspiring basketball coach who wants to be where you are one day?
First thing I would say, Marty, is personality. Be yourself. Don't try to be Bobby Knight. Don't try to be Dean Smith. I think we all watch all these videos on YouTube and we want to do it this way. We want to do it that way. You got to be yourself, man, and use your personality to come across to your guys. I think that's one of the biggest things because guys know when you're fake. Guys know when you're trying to be something that you're not. Just be yourself, man. And I think it's like anything else. You loving your mom and your dad because they care for you. If you got a good coach that cares for you, care for those guys, man. It's not about yourself and you moving up the coaching tree and all that kind of thing. Be about your guys and love your guys. That's the first thing I would tell any young coach. Be yourself and be genuine about what you're trying to do. The second thing is try to learn as much as you can from other people, other guys that done it before you. Those things are big because they've been through some things that you're going to see that's going to be shocking to you, and they can help you handle those. So those are the main two. Make sure you have good mentors and make sure you be yourself, man. I think those are the biggest things that I emphasize to my young coaches.
That's good advice too.
Absolutely.
That's real good advice. I got another one I'm going to ask you. I'm going to roll here. I'm going to put you on the spot on this one too. I know some big schools are going to come calling, man. You're a hot commodity. And you got the look, you got the personality, and you're got a proven track record. You're going to have to deal with that, I think, brother. They're going to be days when some big school may come asking you. It's a controversial question. I'm sorry to throw that one out there.
If you cut my body open right now, it'll be red, white, and blue, CSU. Because
Awesome.
I'm at my dream job, and I tell people all the time, you're going to get some calls from some smaller schools, some Division I schools. But right now, Marty, my main emphasis is on Columbus State University and how we can win a national championship. And I think we got a taste of that in the regionals this year. We was 2 games away from the Elite Eight, and that's where we wanted to be, and we came up short. But my main focus on that. If those other things happen from other schools, and there was a little chirping this year, a few little calls this year, but it was nothing to remove me from Columbus, Georgia, man. My wife loves it here. She just retired from Aflac. She's doing some outside things with the community now. My son is back, so there's a lot of things here that's happening in Columbus that I'm really proud of. And, we got great leadership with Dr. Stewart Rayfield, who loves sports. I'm sure I text her husband all the time about different things that happen with the basketball program. So we got great support now here, man. And, I got a lot of guys working with me, with the golf tournament. David Spitzmiller does a great job of anchoring.
Yeah.
So we got so many guys that's helping us out, trying to get us to that next level, because it takes money, it takes commitment. And I think right now at CSU that, we're trying to get there, and they'll help it as much as they can. So I'm here to stay, Marty. So I'm your friend forever.
That's great news, Robert. I'm so proud, and I asked that question because I wanted to clear the air. I've been hearing a lot of people say, "Man, somebody's going to combine golf coach more up,"
Right.
and I just think it's great to hear the community to hear. You got the best coach you could ever get at CSU. Everybody who's listening tonight, you got a winner. You got a guy who's doing it right. I mean, it's just great to hear you're red, white, and blue, man. That's a great comment. So you guys that are on the bubble out there, it's where to sign your coach is staying. Come on, be loyal to him like he's been loyal to. That's awesome, Robert. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
I got
And
one
with
last
that,
thing.
hurry up, Marty, because we run out of
One
time.
last thing I need to ask you. We had this conversation one day, and I've never forgotten it in the office. We talked about some crazy things in that office, didn't we? We can't talk about all those things that we said, but you said one day, and I've never forgotten it, is when we're dead and gone, and our time on this earth is up, you know what I'm about to say, don't you? And how are people going to think of you? Like in one phrase, what would somebody say about Robert Moore? What would somebody say about Mike Peacock, about Marty Durden? How would you like to be remembered when your time on this earth is up?
The guy loved people and loved to help people. That's how I want to be remembered, Marty. I just love people. I love relationships. And, that's how I want to be remembered, man. And I tell you, I wake up every morning just trying to figure out a way I can help somebody besides myself, man. And I live my life like that. It's just, I think my 7-year-old grandson get the most of it right now, but I would want to be remembered on this earth as somebody that loved people and loved helping people.
You can't find a better thing to say about a person than they're out there. That is awesome. Man.
That's right. We end up every week, when we come down to the end of our episode every week, and I'm gonna finish this one with this same thing too, Robert. We appreciate you being a guy who's willing to step up and make a difference. Because every coach that we've had on here, the name of this podcast is "Step Up, Make a Difference." And the reason we named that is, and the reason we have the guests on here that we do, is because everybody who comes on this show with us is somebody that we know has stepped up. We know that they are willing to step up. And you've done that. You've done it for a lot of years. I have really enjoyed watching you. Literally, I'm a fair amount older than you, not ton, but watching you kind of grow up in this profession, because I've watched you from the time you were a grad assistant all the way through to where you are now as a head coach. And you and I got some experiences together that we won't talk about right now. That where I got you in trouble with some people. Didn't mean to.
But,
Watching you grow into the head coach that you are now has been really cool. It's been a real fun process, and knowing you the way I know you, and knowing what you stand for, and knowing the way you do it. We had to have you on here because you are a guy who is not afraid to step up, and you're a guy who is all about making a difference in the lives of the people that he serves and those young men that you coach and that you recruit. But not only them, your family, your colleagues at Columbus State, your fellow coaches around the different leagues. You're always willing to be there for them and to step up and help them make a difference as well. And we really appreciate it. We appreciate you being on here with us. And we're gonna have you again sometime. Hopefully,
yes,
hopefully we'll have you on here and talk about a national championship before too much longer. How about that?
I love to hear that, Mike. Thank you.
Robert, I'd just like to say too, you're a dear friend, man, and I respect and love you so much. You've made me a better guy, a better person, and everybody needs somebody like you in their life, and I just appreciate you. And you are doing that same thing for so many young men. You're a perfect example of what we're trying to preach on this Step Up show. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you, Marty, man. And take care of Diane now.
Definitely.
Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us this week on another edition of Step Up, Make a Difference. Coach Robert Moore, we certainly appreciate you being with us and your willingness to do that. And everybody, if you're around the country somewhere and you don't know about Columbus State University, go to the web and do a little research on Columbus State University and the programs that they have, but especially this guy sitting here talking to us today, Coach Robert Moore, and his basketball program. And be willing to get in touch with him, because if you're a coach out there and you want to talk to somebody who's been there and done that for a while and is being successful right now, give him a call, look him up, send him an email, do something, get in touch with him, and he'll help you. Same thing for Marty and myself. If you need something from us, we're always here. Look us up, get a hold of us, and we'll help you out. And also, if you're watching this podcast and you know somebody in the coaching profession or in the athletics profession that would be a great guest for us, please send us a referral, because we're always looking for great people to have on. But so until next week, for Coach Robert Moore and for Marty Durden, my man, my partner, everybody, go about this week and look for a place where you can step up and make a difference.